You know that feeling, right? You look at your paycheck, and maybe it's even a little bigger than it was a few years ago. But then you glance at your bank account, and you just have to wonder, where did it all go? It's like you're running faster and faster on a financial treadmill, only to look around and realize you're in the exact same spot.
So that's the real question we're digging into here. If more money is coming in, why on earth don't we actually feel any richer? Well, the answer isn't simple. It's a complicated mix of our own psychology, tiny little habits we don't even notice, and some cold, hard math.
So let's start with a trap that I think most of us fall into. It's what we can call the more money illusion. It's this idea that if we could just get that next raise, all of our financial problems would just disappear. But as we're about to see, the data tells a very, very different story.
Okay, so here's where it gets a little weird. You can see here that incomes, generally, have been going up. But look at this other line. Data from the Federal Reserve shows that our collective sense of financial well-being, it actually peaked back in 2021 and has been going down since. So we're earning more, but somehow we're feeling worse off. And to put a real number on that feeling, by 2024, only 73% of adults said they felt like they were doing okay financially. Now, that's down from 78% just a few years earlier. So this isn't just in your head. It's a real widespread trend. So if the numbers on our pay stubs are going up, what's going on inside our minds that's making us feel like we're falling behind? Well, that brings us to the next piece of this whole puzzle, our own brains. It turns out when you get a raise, your brain has some, let's call it pre-installed software that can actually work directly against your financial goals.
The first idea here is something called hedonic adaptation. It sounds fancy, but it's a really simple human truth. We just get used to things. That initial excitement from a bigger paycheck, it fades. And it fades surprisingly fast. Our brain just recalibrates. And pretty soon, that new higher income just becomes the new normal.
And this is what creates that psychological trap. It really does feel like you're on a treadmill made of money. You're working harder, you're earning more, but that goal of feeling truly secure and comfortable, it always seems to move just a little bit further away. That better lifestyle is always just out of reach.
Now, the second little mental quirk is something called mental accounting. Basically, in our minds, not all dollars are created equal. We subconsciously put our money into different mental buckets, and we treat each of those buckets with a completely different set of rules. Just think about it for a second. Our regular salary, what we think of as our earned money, we treat that with respect, right? That's for the mortgage, the bills, all the serious stuff. But a bonus or a tax refund, that often gets filed away as found money. It feels like a windfall, like it's free from the usual rules. And that's exactly why we're so much quicker to spend it, often on things that don't really build any long-term wealth. So this is where our psychology meets our bank account. We're talking about the invisible leak. You probably know it as lifestyle creep, and it's how all our good intentions just get drained away, one small decision at a time. Just look at these. Do any of them seem familiar? Each one of these things, by itself, feels totally reasonable. I got a raise, I can afford a better coffee, or it's just one more subscription. But these small, seemingly harmless upgrades, these are the little drips that, over time, can drain away a huge chunk of any new income you make. And when we add up all those little individual drips across the entire country, the result is just staggering. Data from NerdWallet shows U.S. credit card debt has gone past $1.2 trillion. A number like that isn't built from a few giant purchases. It's the collective result of millions and millions of tiny, almost unnoticeable lifestyle upgrades. I think this quote from Sarah Rathner at NerdWallet really puts things in perspective. It's not always about a lack of discipline. For a lot of people, it's just about how incredibly difficult it is to manage rising costs, which makes that invisible leak even harder to plug. And that brings us to the other side of this equation.
Because it's not just our habits. Even if you manage your spending perfectly, there are other forces working against you. This is the part we tend to forget, the mathematical squeeze that takes a bite out of your raise before you even get to see it.
Here's the simple, hard truth that we often forget in all the excitement. Your gross raise, that big number on the offer letter, is not what you actually get to spend. Not even close.
Let's just walk through a simple example. Say you get a $10,000 raise. Fantastic. But first, taxes take their share. And sometimes a raise can push you into a higher tax bracket, so they take an even bigger piece. Then inflation chips away at your purchasing power. And all of a sudden, that exciting $10,000 raise is really only about $5,800 in actual spendable money.
And this isn't just some hypothetical. An analysis from NerdWallet showed that between 2019 and 2023, median income went up by 12%. But the cost of living? It shot up by 20%. So for so many people, it was like running a race where the finish line was actually moving away from them faster than they could run. So after all of that, what can you actually do? This isn't just a story without a solution. This last part is all about how to build a system, a kind of financial shield, to protect your income from both your own mind and all these outside pressures. The answer isn't just to earn more, and it isn't even about having more willpower. It's about building a better system for yourself. A system of what you could call intentional friction, where you deliberately make it just a little bit harder to spend your money on impulse.
And here are 3 simple, practical steps. First, automate. Pay your future self first by moving money to savings before you even have a chance to touch it. Second, create hurdles. Keep your spending money in a separate account from your savings so you have to consciously make a transfer. And third, impose a delay. A simple 48-hour rule for any bigger, non-essential purchase, that alone can be the difference between impulse and intention. But ultimately, getting this right takes a shift in mindset. It's about redefining what the goal even is. It's about moving from a goal of high spending to a goal of high freedom. I think this quote from Sequoia Financial Group just captures the whole idea perfectly. Real wealth isn't about the size of your paycheck. It's about what you manage to keep and what that money you've kept allows you to do.
If you distill it all down to its core, it's this. The ultimate purpose of building wealth isn't just accumulation for its own sake. It's not about getting more stuff. It is, and it always has been, about buying back your most valuable, non-renewable asset, your time.
So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Real wealth gives you options. It gives you the power to say no. No to a job you don't like, no to an obligation you don't want, no to a path that isn't really yours. So the real question is, if you had that freedom, what's the very first thing you would say no to?